this area there's a lot of old industrial sites, a lot of quarries and a lot of areas around by where old industry was, engineering and things like that, paperwork, cement and things like that, all of which has gone more or less. So there's a lot of space here, and of course with the need for housing in this part of the world particularly, the government has responded, in fact successive governments have responded to try to meet some of those needs by designating the area for redevelopment on a massive scale. We, as most circuits have, traditional churches in various flavours and hues, but we wanted to say, well, we can't just expect new people to turn up on our doorsteps. That's a model of coming to church that has worked up to a point, but now perhaps doesn't work so well. So we felt we needed to do something radically different. So we got permission to advertise the job for a minister with a dog collar, or a deacon person, or a layperson. And we appointed the layperson, Bart Woodhouse.
We were one of the first 5 or 6 people to move on site. So there really wasn't many people here at all. But we very quickly started to just try and meet people really. So we would just take our children out and about walking, bump into people, bump into our neighbours, get some conversations going. So that was the first thing that we did really, which was very, very basic listening kind of thing. But as more and more people began to move on site, one of the things I was very keen to do was to start a residents association. We had an informal meeting in one of the buildings just down the road here, put letters on people's doors, and we had about 40 or 50 people come along to that first meeting. And we were very clear that that we were a church and we were wanting to work and kind of enhance and help build community here. And we wanted to do that firstly by getting residents together in that association and giving them a voice. So that was a really effective way of initially kind of getting the community together and being able to listen to what was going on. In a new development like this, there always are issues with houses and how well windows keep out water and all that kind of stuff. So some of those issues I was able to forward on and actually get some movement on. And we saw that as part of our role as building kingdom really, and part of our witness here as Christians was to actually, in a new community, how do we make it a strong, vibrant and healthy place to live? So very early on we did things like a community carol service. It was in the open air, there was no other building to hold it in, no other venue, so we held it in one of these pocket park areas. Last year we stumbled upon the Big Lunch initiative, and we had a lovely time. We got a bouncy castle and a barbecue, and we got local people to bring food along that they'd made from in their own home that expressed something of them, so a kind of signature dish or something from their culture. So we had goat curry and many other wonderful dishes that were brought along to that big lunch, and the community came together, and we had about 60 or 70 people come along to that, which from a small community that we are at the moment, that was quite a big proportion of the people here. But one of the highlights of that day was the community tug of war, and we had a really, really special time. One of the things that we've sought to do, and this kind of links into our desire to help shape community here, is that there's a small plot of land on site. We couldn't build on it because there was a high pressure oil pipeline underneath it, and we thought, well, we could create this into a community garden. And the youth club are going to create a piece of art, sculpture for the centre of the garden, and they're getting involved in that. But it'll just be just a nice place for people to go and sit in the heart of the community. When we first came to this site, we brought with us quite a small team, and now we have about between 9 and 10 who would form the core team. They're a broad mixture of people, but they do have a real sense of call to be doing this kind of work. But we're learning again really what it means to be community, and learning again what it means to be church together. And because we're small, we can be very flexible. And we've got quite a large and growing fringe around that 9 or 10 people. And we're using things like the Y course and other things to encourage that fringe to maybe explore the Christian faith. And then transition into the cell life of the church, hopefully in the future. And we've used Costa Coffee and other venues to sort of help us do that. It has been very much for us winning trust, listening. It's been about forming real relationships and friendships with people, trying to demonstrate something of God's love to people in a practical and real way. And just seeing what the Spirit does really. and we meet on a Tuesday evening. And then every month, on a Sunday, once every month, we have a celebration. We just have a big meal together. We just cook some lasagna and food, and we just all sit around a big table together. And then some interactive prayer time maybe together. But in essence, it all happens around this table. One of the great things as well is that the new community campus that's been built on site. They have a room there which is just the right size for us. There's a kitchen just next to the room. With everything we need, so all the provision is there for us to do this, to have these, generous meals together in that building, in the heart of the community, which has been very, very good.
He's not there.
Some people want to try and argue that what we're doing isn't really church; it's just an extended house group or something. But I really would want to sort of defend what we're doing here by sort of saying that we are authentically church. We are a worshipping community together. We're about God's mission here. We're about demonstrating the kingdom in this place. We're about worshipping God together and finding ways that are relevant for us to do that. We certainly are creating disciples in what we're doing and encouraging others to explore what it might mean to be a disciple of Christ in this place. There's a number of challenges that I think we've faced in trying to shape a full and healthy Christian community here. And one of them has been that I'm a layperson in the Methodist Church, and as a layperson I'm not able to preside at the Eucharistic sacrament meal. I think there needs to be a real integrity about these communities that we're forming, and this community, the Beacon, and that we are able to, within ourselves, celebrate that meal together and all that it means as a community. Our long-term vision here as the Beacon is to create a kind of pattern of church here that is so integrally part of this new community, and yet is authentically a church and expressing all the kingdom values and living out the message of Christ here. Just something that is really authentically rooted here and authentically Christian and authentically church, and seeing people discovering faith in Jesus, seeing people having their lives changed, transformed, broken lives mended, all that the gospel will bring, but seeing that really happen and rooted here. But I think for us, one of the real dynamics that we want to invest in and grow and vision for is this seamless link between community and the messiness of community here in a new community, and the voice of Christ and the kingdom.